Hey, it's Chris here. I got quite a bit of stuff laying out here. We're actually going to be talking about first aid kits, and some stuff that you could use to build a first aid kit if you want to go that route. So if you are interested, stick around and stay tuned. So, as I said in the intro, we're talking about first aid. I know a lot of places like Walmart and stuff, you can just buy a first aid kit off the shelf. But the question is, does it do everything? Now, I've been working with Gary down at Jailbait and Tackle on this for a few days now, actually about a week, a little over a week or so. And I think him and I have got a pretty good idea of a pretty close to a utilitarian kit. So without further ado, let's go over a few items here, and let's start with storage, because before you build anything, you need to put the stuff in a place. Gary did a video already, and I've watched this video. I really liked the video, and he's the one that came up to me and said, got in touch with me and said, hey, I think you can do a little bit better, spend a little bit more time with stuff. So Gary used a smaller can like this. This is a 30 caliber ammunition can. He had a one that was painted orange, like some kind of emergency, like view. Now, I didn't get one of those. I didn't have one, but I did get this one, and I bought these things from Harbor Freight. They're just reflectors that you could probably put across there to make it visible, in the dark or something like that you can see. Also, I don't have one, but a first aid sticker on top of there or some sort of labeling of first aid would help as well. So this is a small type, and while shopping for this, I actually thought about also trying either the larger 50 caliber bag or box here, and these were both bought at Harbor Freight. This one's a little over about $10. These are about 4 or 5. They're plastic. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that they could float. I'm not 100% sure on it, but I picked the plastic ones because I figured they were lightweight and a little bit easier to put into places. So another option is the tool bag here. This is from Home Depot. This was actually inspired by my friend Tony at Rando Adventures 2.0. I sent Tony a bunch of first aid stuff because he does a lot of stuff through hikers with the Appalachian Trail. He was also going on a long distance trip. Check him out also. He's on a trip right now that's going to be multiple months across the United States touring. And so he was given I think they call it a jump bag, crash bag or something that EMTs can grab right out of the ambulance and go straight in to assess something. So I thought, you know what, I don't have something like that available, but maybe I could do something close to it. So I went to the local Home Depot and I bought this bag here, which is just a tool bag. Any tool bag would work. You can get them at Home Depot. I think Walmart sells them, Harbor Freight, most tool stores. So this is also another thing that you can try to put your stuff in. So now that we've talked about storage, now we will move on to the items itself. So the first thing, let's talk about signaling. Anytime that you get hurt or something, a lot of times you might be near a road, you could be already around a bunch of people, you're in an area. But if you're alone or you're somewhere that you're a little desolate, you need some way to signal. Now, one is a whistle. This is just a Walmart, I think it was $4 whistle, just an American-made whistle that, for like sporting events, sporting goods section, any store has a whistle. Some have compasses in them. This one doesn't. This is just a regular, if you're going to do track and field or basketball or something like that, this is a whistle for that. So just something that does like an audible alarm or something. Next is a flashlight. And flashlights are dual purpose, multi-purpose. Not only are you going to be able to see, but if you have a light shining like this, you can flash, try to flash across. You can see here behind me, you can see where it's, and that's able to alarm. Now this flashlight here is actually, I bought this at a store called Family Farm and Home, and it does have 3 settings: high, low, and a pulse SOS. So this would work if you didn't have something like that, just a regular flashlight, and you can wave your hands, and that'll help as well. Next is if you get cut. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff on here that could help in the matter of cutting. If you get cut, we have regular Band-Aids. These are just Walmart Equate. I was able to acquire quite a bit of these at one time on clearance. So that's something to check out in your local Walmart for clearance section. And they're still good Band-Aids. They just need room. They're going to throw them out there. If you want to go get Paw Patrol, that's your thing. So we have smaller Band-Aids. We do have butterfly Band-Aids. They're on here as well. I think they're right here. The little butterfly stitches to close up gaps. And then we have the larger Band-Aids, the big, huge, wide one, like your elbow, knee, something like that. So that's Band-Aids. Now, what if you have something that you need, a little bit more when it comes to like a larger area burn or something like that? I do also have, I got 4-inch by 4-inch, 4-ply bandages, gauze pads. These are really nice, for any kind of bigger area or something, a lot of blood, that you can put on there and you can wrap. I have these, and these are able to be cut down. So don't think that you have to use a 4-inch by 4-inch. You can take one of these and cut it in half and use a 2-inch by 4-inch and double it if need be. So you don't have to worry about that. Another thing that's on here actually is a female sanitary napkin. These can be used in case of emergency for large wounds as well. That's something. To hold that in place, we have gauze. I have 2 little rolls of gauze here that I have. My wife and I, we have a lot of first aid stuff because we have kids and they get accident prone. We have a dog that's very accident prone. So we have gauze. We have quite a bit of it in rolls. These, I think, are 2 inches by 4.1 yards. So that's like 12 foot of gauze. You don't have to use it all at one time for anything. So, and then when you're done with wrapping up with gauze, you can either use multiple things. We have the ACE bandages. We have 2 of these. I just threw them out here. And these ACE bandages could hold everything in place, even sprains, bruises, breaks, something like that, to immobilize on top of holding bandages. You also have this brown tape. This brown tape is like almost like a hardener where it would hold everything and act as almost like a temporary cast. I love this stuff. I use it a lot, especially if somebody gets hurt or something. This acts as a really good barrier for any kind of issues. So, also, of course, your classic tape. This stuff here has been around our house for a long time. And a lot of this stuff we had already. I just was building a kit out of it. But you have the tape. This is the plastic tape that's like mesh. We also have the classic white tape here to put on top there. There's multiple different avenues. And even electrical tape would work as well as that. Plus, that's really nice to immobilize fingers if a broken finger or a bruised finger. So we have other things here. Let's keep going. If we're going to be using, any kind of injuries, triple antibiotic ointment. Neosporin. This is a different brand. I'm not sure where it came from. Probably from a drugstore, and it just comes in just a regular tube. Just something like that. We'll talk about that in a minute. But just a single tube. Just put something on there. To get so your wound is not getting covered in like any kind of cotton. It heals. It hurts. When it tears apart. So speaking of cotton, these kits are like at the Dollar Tree, different dollar stores and stuff. They have cotton balls, they have Q-tips, or what do they call them? Cotton swabs, and then little bandages as well. These will help putting any kind of any creams or anything onto your body to help with stuff. So we still have quite a bit of stuff, I know, but this stuff will help you in case if something happens. So another thing is, this is kind of weird to say, but super glue. This is actually original super glue brand. You can get this at the Dollar Tree. 2 of these bottles for $1.25, plus if you have taxes in your state or Commonwealth. So super glue is just the same as like liquid stitches and stuff like that. The military actually uses this. I have some military family members that actually recommend this as well. So super glue is something that is a good idea to keep just in case of something larger, and you can use the butterfly stitches, bandages to hold it in place. So for the most part, that's of course you're rubbing alcohol. You want to keep stuff clean. That and hydrogen peroxide, those both came from Walmart. They're not that much in price. So let's keep going here. If you are going to do anything, of course, these are already open because we use these at home. The gloves, make sure you have gloves whenever you do anything. You want to make sure that the area is as clean as possible. If you don't have access to gloves, hand sanitizer, clean up, and on top of that, alcohol wipes. These work really well preparing an area around the outside if you need to do anything on top of wiping yourself down. So we've pretty much, for the most part, covered cuts and anything. And we do have one other thing here, triangular bandages. This is also if cuts, or if you have like a arm, shoulder injury, you can immobilize yourself, up on the side. So I have a shoelace or a couple of shoelaces. Now, if you are bleeding somewhere and you might need to tie it off, tie something around an area to hold it in place, this would work as well. It's something simple, a couple dollars, take them out of your old shoe, whatever. These are brand new that came out of a pair of Skechers shoes. So, and let's talk about some other stuff here. We have multiple other things. And one thing that Gary brought up to me was, and unfortunately I couldn't find it, is something for poison ivy, poison oaks, poison sumac. This is the Tech-New, it's poison ivy and oak scrub. This is at Walmart. I don't know anything about it. The stuff that Gary and I were talking about, I couldn't find, unfortunately. It was actually laundry detergent that's all over YouTube of people having, being able to show what it is. It's, I think it's called Phil's Naphtha, I think is how it's pronounced that. And it's an old, like bar soap stuff that if you're washing your clothes in, it helps to ring around the collar and other things. But this is supposed to do the same stuff. Something like this is going to help if you are hiking in the woods, or if you do unfortunately fall into something, you put your hand up against something. This is going to get the oils off everything and try to get you so you're not scratching. So another thing about scratching, what happens if you get stung? Afterbite. Afterbite, if you get stung by a mosquito or you bit by a mosquito, fireflies, anything like that, this works as well. That's one thing that you don't have to worry about whenever it comes to a lot of stuff. You can just have the stick here. I've never opened this. I actually just bought this because we ran out. So just a stick, you shake it up a little bit, and there's a dabber on the end, almost like a stick deodorant set up that way. You just rub it on there, and it's really, really good. So that's just something also to think about. I had to get up for this one here. Now, one of the things that with bee stings, you're going to get a lot of, if you're out there and you get stung by a bee, wasp, hornet, yellow jacket, or something like that, this is 2 remedies that actually works. Now, it's on the table here. I actually have one of them. The other one's in my hand. If I can get it to show. This is a copper penny. Just a United States copper penny. The pennies that are actually older, from 1981 and older, they actually work better. They have more copper content. They will help alleviate the sting. This is an old, an old type of thing that they used to do back in the day that family uses it still to this day. Just put a little bit of tape over top of that penny, holds it in place for a little while, it takes the sting away. Another thing, toothpaste. That helps as well. Now, you don't have to do both. I mean, a penny's a penny. This is just travel toothpaste that we had. So that's another couple things, any kind of stings if you don't have like afterbite or anything. Now, bandages and stuff, we talked about earlier. How would you cut, if you needed to? Bandage scissors. These were only a few dollars at Walmart. Regular scissors, if you have something at a decent size, these would work, or they would work as well. Bandage scissors just look like that. They're a little bit wider on the bottom. So, I just basically like that. Cuts right in place. I also have included a knife, a pocket knife with that, because you can dig out stingers with this if you're careful enough, or you can cut bandages with it as well. This is just a Kershaw. I actually did a video with this set a while back, and then I did a multi-tool as well, because it has pliers in it. If you need to pick out, say you're in a climate that we don't have it, but if you have like scorpions or something, you need to pick out stingers, or if you get a fishing hook in your hand, you can use something to, to get it out. Plus, on top of that, you have knives, little, you have multiple different things here that turns it not only as a first aid thing, but a survival thing, which that's a different video as its own. So, next is aloe vera gel. Burns, any kind of like fire burns and stuff like that, aloe vera gel helps tremendously with burn, any kind of irritants from that. Now, speaking of burns, you want to be preventative. Sunscreen. This is too big to be put in something, I think, and I will have to have something smaller to put with this. But you want to make sure you have sunscreen. In case this is SPF 70, and if you don't have it, bring some burn gel, a little bit of burn gel, something to keep it so it does. You're not hurting yourself as bad. That's the key. Is sun is no joke. A lot of older people that are getting close. I don't want to censor anybody out or anything, or put anybody out there, but a lot of boomers and stuff back in the day, they were out and didn't know about the harmful effects of skin cancer and what happens. They're having skin cancer. I had my grandmother that actually had skin cancer on her legs and stuff before she passed, and she's had multiple surgeries. I know multiple people that have skin cancer spots on their face as well that have been removed. So that's something to think about. Now, we are getting whittled down here. One thing that Gary brought up, and I really like the idea, is some sort of antacid. I bought these little Tums. These are only a few bucks or so, but for a little bit more, you have the bigger ones. If you have the room, suggest a little bit bigger. If not, get a little container. Gary's video, he actually had containers to put these in. I didn't grab any, but something like that. If you put them in containers, make sure you label everything. So that's another thing to think about. Now we are getting down towards the bottom, and one thing is I didn't do a lighter. If you do have certain injuries that you need cauterization, you can burn, you could take a knife and heat the end up, and cauterize something. Last case scenario or something like that, but you have a lighter that you can do stuff like that. Also, this little baggie, these are sealed. I bought these tweezers in a magnifying glass. Something like that really helps when it comes to if you're pulling stingers out, or if you're needing to pull any kind of cactus, stuff like that. Anything, ticks even. Ticks is bad, or bad in our area, so that would be something. So, one is saline nasal spray. Sometimes, like with my kids, when my kids were younger, for some reason, it must be little kids, they pack dirt in their nose. I don't know, maybe that's a kid thing. But they would, if you let them go, play, in the area, they would get it in there. So you needed to wash it out. So saline nasal spray is a good thing. It's just basically a little bit like salt water. It also helps moisturize your nose in case of if you have somebody that has nosebleed issues like my family does. So another thing is eye wash. If those kids are getting into the sand and stuff, throwing sand up, you're going to have somebody has getting stuff in it. This has been around a little bit actually with our family. So I'm just going to open here, show you. It's basically a bottle with a cup, which this is still sealed. And you screw it on the end there and you spray it. You get it up in your eye there, you can spray it. A lot of places you don't have access to running water to do something like that. So being proactive and having the availability of a eye wash is paramount, when it comes to people's eye care. So now we're down to the last few items, and one, of course, is toiletries. Toilet paper. This can be used multiple different things, cleaning up an area, using the restroom, a worst case scenario, or multiple different things. You don't have to take a full-size mega roll like this. You can go and get smaller to-go Charmin rolls from like a dollar store or something like that and use it as well. They also work cleaning up areas. So we'll put that over there. Now, pain relieving was a couple things that Gary and I mentioned and I thought about as well. And one is Tylenol. Now, Gary did mention aspirin, ibuprofen stuff. I didn't get any aspirin to throw in this one, but aspirin is a good idea for heart and stuff like that. Heart attacks, it helps out. I did get extra strength Tylenol. They come in these like little containers. I'll bring it up here and actually put it in front. If you can see it well, the camera doesn't have that good a light. But these Tylenol bottles here, they hold like 10, but you can refill them. That's really nice. Plus they're childproof. So that's one thing that we talked about with, with the pain relieving. And I threw in a couple things. These are absorbing patches, like if you have a backache, muscle ache, some kind of, stress. These will work. More than likely, they're for, you're going to be using them as an adult, not a child or anything like that. Also, if you do any kind of like spraying or anything, you should be able to put that on in that area. So petroleum jelly is something that I threw in also thinking that maybe if you need to, if you're having hand issues, cracked skin, dry skin, it would help. But I also included O'Keefe's Working Hands. I love this stuff. I use it a lot in the winter time as, when I have dry, cracked skin from getting out in the winter. So, and Carmex, chapstick. Chapstick's one thing that I just threw in there, is thinking that not only chapped lips, any kind of chapped gums, anything like that. So, and this is the last thing I have here. There's a few other things I'm going to cover here as well that I wanted to include, but unfortunately I didn't. Now I have Ziplocs here that I'm gonna put, break everything down. We're gonna put it in a box here and try to fit it in as much as possible and see what would work the best. So I also grabbed like Orajel, and this is brand new, as you can tell. A little bottle Orajel, which is the Equate, Walmart, but it's still the same thing. Toothaches can be really a big bugger, big pain, so it's always a good idea to have something like that. So I don't think I actually did cover the mouthwash. The mouthwash I put in there because if you cut yourself or anything, God forbid, in your mouth or anything like that, this also is like an antiseptic as well. So that's something. And then one other thing I didn't cover that got kind of shuffled in the stuff here is a little survival blanket. And reason why I put this as first aid was because that some people that get hurt severely can go into a shock and get cold or hypothermia. These survival blankets, you can see how little this folds out. And the size of this is 52 inches by 84 inches. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to try to put everything into a container. I'm not going to put 100% of everything just because the fact that I know this is too much. Let's take this stuff here. We're going to try to put it into the containers here and see which one's going to be best. Some of this stuff, like if I had smaller bottles of it, it would be a little bit easier, which you can get those at like travel sizes for like $1 or so, and it's a little bit easier. Now I'm going to pick the larger can to try putting this in here just because of the fact that this is something that's sturdy. I mean, you can use the bag that I picked right here. You can use this bag if you want to, if a lot of this stuff is too big. Or you can use the smaller bag here. That's more than your smaller can. I just am picking the larger one to do, to show this, because something large like this, I can put it in my vehicle. I'll know where it's at. This mostly all that, this kit's going to end up being put in my van anyway for the family. So let's start putting some stuff in. See, like this is going to be too large. I'll get a smaller container when I do put it in. But things like this, I can lay it down on the side in here, and it should be okay. It's not going to spray. It's not going to mess up. One little tip is also, if you can at all times, take stuff out of packaging to try to compensate, whenever you have a limited amount of room. Something like that is just easier to maneuver around everything. You don't have to worry about having constraints because of a larger package like this Afterbite, whenever this Afterbite is just this big. So you can just stick that right in there and it just fits right in without a problem. So everything is in here for the most part, except for a few items that I said that I was just using extra. I can get the smaller travel size and put them in there at the dollar store at any time and put it in there. So everything's in here. Everything's contained to this larger can. I'm actually happy I did step up to the larger size. And this is a kit that I feel that would fit, as a good basis kit. It's not the be-all end-all of as a kit. This is something that is a lot more towards my family, and with the help of Gary at Jailbait and Tackle, he was able to help out tremendously on ideas on this. So put it down in the comments below if you think that there's something that I missed. I know there's a few things in my head that I didn't put in here. One would have been a mirror. I did talk with Gary about that as well, for like something like if you're looking by yourself, looking for any kind of harm on your body. So The idea of this is first aid. This is not survival. I know there's a few items in here that were kind of closer towards survival, but do have a use for first aid kit purposes. So, like I said, put down in the comments down below if you think of something that could be used, when it comes to first aid, and we'll make a good discussion of this. Maybe this is something that we could put this to the test at some time and test some of this stuff. So, with that being said, everybody, I hope everybody has a safe one. Have a good day, and God bless.